welcome back to the channel. My name is Casey, and when I last left you, I was working on hanging drywall in the basement, and today I'm going to continue hanging drywall in the basement. You know, I don't really feel like filming every step of this, so we're just gonna do a quick little transition. All right, so this corner over here is kind of on hold, and we've actually gotten a little bit waylaid this week because before I can put in the drywall over here, we had some plumbing that we had to get done. We have a plumbing line here that needed a new valve handle thing. So we got that done, but it has a little leak, so we have to have the plumber come back and just do a little touch up on it because it's got a tiny, tiny, tiny little leak. And of course, Alan found it because he is just on it with that kind of stuff. And then over here, we have this outlet here that needs to be removed. We just haven't gotten to it yet. We've been kind of going back and forth about whether or not we want an outlet here at all. And I have decided that I'm gonna put a little bit of a closet here, just kind of a small, like little broom closet. And so we won't need the outlet right there. So we're gonna take that one out. We also had to replace the outlet here, so that's good to go. And then this is our bathroom. So before I put drywall on this area, I want to soundproof the bathroom. So I'm gonna put some insulation and stuff around there. And I wanted to do all of the mudding and taping and sanding of the drywall in here at the same time. I don't know if that's gonna happen. I'm probably just gonna have to go ahead and get started on finishing the drywall before we get these two corners set up. We also have an electrician that's gonna come back out and do a little bit more work for us over here. We have a light over here that we kind of wanna, it's kind of a three-way switch, kind of old wiring situation that we wanna have an electrician look at. So anyway, we've got a few more things that need to happen over here. And I didn't get as much done as I really wanted to this week. It's just been one of those weeks. But what I can do is talk a little bit more about our plans for this space. I've really been getting into the design phase of this and trying to kind of nail down the locations of all the cabinetry and everything that I want to put in. So I'll kind of walk you through each spot and we can talk about what we're going to be doing in these areas. So let's start over here in the sewing room area. So I've mentioned before that I am going to be using the space as my sewing room. And originally I was thinking I was gonna put cabinetry along this wall here with like a countertop to put my sewing machines and do all of my sewing here and have some storage along this wall. But it kind of started getting a little bit squirrely because there's something I wanna do with the ceiling, which I'll talk about in a moment, that it was kind of starting to mess up the dimensions for all of that. And we have this little ledge here where the foundation kind of butts out from the wall here, and building the cabinetry here, I kind of started to have this dead corner here that I wasn't sure what to do with. So all of that said, I decided to move the cabinetry here along this wall. And so I'll have a countertop here, and then I'm gonna have storage here and storage here. And then this will just be a ledge that I can put plants or books or other sewing related things. And I think that's gonna be a much better use of the space, and it's gonna tie in with what I wanna do with the ceiling a little bit better too. So I haven't decided yet what color I wanna paint the walls. I'm leaning toward a lighter color, kind of similar to what we painted upstairs, but I know I want the cabinetry to be dark on this side. And it'll probably be close to the color that I used to have my other sewing room painted. Well, I probably shouldn't even say that because I'll probably change my mind. But I think I do want to paint the cabinetry kind of a darker color, but something that is vibrant and something that is relaxing. And in my last two sewing rooms, I've had kind of a aqua blue-ish color, and it's a really nice space to work in. That's a really nice color to work in. So I might kind of tie that in somehow in this area. And I also like to do a fun wallpaper element in some area over here. I thought about doing it in the back of some shelving or along one of the walls, just to kind of add a little pop of color and pattern in here, because in my sewing room, I really like to make it feel like a very creative space. And I've been getting really excited looking at wallpaper on Pinterest. And so I have a lot of wallpaper ideas pinned. I'll also put my Pinterest link down below in the description below this video because I spend a lot of time on Pinterest and I am constantly pinning ideas for home decor, recipes, sewing, all of that. So if that's something that interests you, you can check that out and kind of see kind of where my brain is at with a lot of the things that I'm planning for these spaces. And then over here on this wall, I'm going to be leaving it kind of blank, but I may try to do some kind of fun thing over here that would look good in photos and videos of my finished sewing makes. So, and you can't see it now because I've got drywall all along this wall, drywall scraps, but I didn't put an outlet here because I wanted this to be kind of a blank slate for taking photographs of the projects that I do. And I also take my own photographs for the product listings for my sewing patterns. And I'm always searching for a wall that does not have any outlets on it. So that's kind of what this area is gonna be, because I'm hoping that I'll be able to kind of stand back here, get some videos and photos. I can come a little closer because I have a nice long kind of hallway. It's not really a hallway, but I want to keep this area really nice and open for that reason. But I did include plenty of outlets on the other walls in this area for all of my equipment, which I really don't have that much equipment. I just have a sewing machine, a serger, and then I need places to plug in, you know, cameras and batteries and chargers and all of that kind of stuff. And the lights that I use for filming. Speaking of lights, you may have noticed we have lights installed in here now too. And previously we just had one light here. It was just one of those kind of old boob lights. In all of my previous sewing spaces, I really didn't have a lot of control over the lighting, and I was really having to kind of come in with plug-in lights to get extra lighting. And so I really wanted to make sure that I had plenty of lighting in here. And these lights are on a dimmer. I think I showed that in last week's video. These lights are on a dimmer, and it's just gonna have a more uniform lighting in this space, because one of the things with sewing is sometimes I feel like I'm like constantly battling shadows when I'm trying to see things really close up. And so having more lighting in here is gonna be a game changer, I think. And also having this sewing space on the side of the basement with the window, which a few commenters suggested several videos back, is such a good idea, because originally I was thinking about putting it on the other side of the basement, but having that natural light is going to be so nice. I've got my zinnias blooming out here. I think next year I'm actually going to plant something a little bit lower so that I can actually see out the window. But right now, I mean, it's beautiful outside. We have fall, like all the colors are changing for fall, and it's just such a nice view. And now that we've started kind of putting everything back together, the view is popping. It's really nice. So I'm imagining sitting here at my desk and just having this really nice view out the window while I sew. Very much looking forward to that. Now over here is gonna be our little kind of living room seating area in the basement. I'll probably have a couch basically right here where I'm standing. It's gonna be under this soffit, which will also be drywalled. This will all be covered up and so much cleaner looking. And then back here, I'm also gonna have some more built-ins. So what I'm going to be doing is basically trying to align the living room space with the sewing room space. So this area kind of expands this way, but I'm going to be kind of justifying everything with the edges of the sewing room so that I can kind of make everything line up. And I kind of have a center of the room that makes sense with the ceiling. So over here, I'm gonna have built-in, and then lower built-ins, maybe some type of shelf above that. And then I'll have a space in the middle here for a television so that we can come down here and, you know, have movie night or whatever, and have a nice little cozy space to hang out in our basement. And also a place, if we have visitors, they can stay down here too. And again, we have updated all the lighting over here. We had another boob light over here that was not even centered in the room. It was really frustrating actually. And so now I've got all the lighting set up. Again, this is gonna be on a dimmer. Right now, it's not on a dimmer because I accidentally dropped and broke the dimmer switch for this, but we need to get another dimmer switch, but this is all gonna be on a dimmer as well. So on this part right here, kind of centered with the sewing room area, we'll have a built-in kind of entertainment center type thing, but with lots of storage. And then over here, we have a lot of plumbing here that we need to maintain access to. So I'm just gonna build a cabinet here that kind of goes with the entertainment center situation, and have just another storage cabinet that allows us to have access to this plumbing valve here. This is the shutoff for the plumbing upstairs. And also we've got some plumbing that goes to our kitchen sink and all of that. So we're gonna maintain access to that. I'm just gonna leave it open inside this cabinet. And then that just kind of sets up a zone here in front of this cabinet that's gonna be up here to kind of leave this open so that we can walk through here and it doesn't obstruct the flow of traffic in this space. All right, now let's talk about the ceiling. So the idea I have for the ceiling is to do a kind of faux coffered ceiling. So I had a comment on last week's video and they're like, oh, if your floor is kind of sagging, like your joists are sagging, your drywall seams are gonna crack on your ceiling. First of all, the ceiling already had drywall on it before we took everything down. And I'm guessing that drywall had been up there for decades and there were no cracks in the drywall. So I'm not even really worried about that. But also, I don't wanna finish drywall seams. So I'm gonna do this faux coffered ceiling to kind of hide all the seams of the drywall and make it a little bit easier to finish the drywall above my head, because I have a little bit of experience doing drywall overhead and it is enraging. I really did not enjoy it. So I wanted to do something that looked nice, but also was less of a headache to finish. I'm less concerned about finishing the drywall on the walls because it's just easier to do it on the walls than it is on the ceiling. So when I'm ready to do the drywall on the ceiling, I'll probably rent a drywall lift and put it up that way, but I'm not gonna have any drywall seams if I lay everything out just right. And then I'll use pieces of trim. We have some leftover trim from when we did the trim upstairs. We'll probably have to get some more trim anyway, but I'm gonna use that to kind of divide up the ceiling and kind of give that faux coffered look. And I think it will just look really nice and it will be kind of centered on the sewing room built-in situation here. And then on the other side of the soffit, it will be centered on the entertainment center over here. And the soffit will just be drywalled normally. And I will do some finishing on that, but I don't think it's gonna be as many seams for this because this thing's only 4 feet wide. So I think it'll work out that I have just a couple of seams to finish overhead on this soffit. Having all of this drywall up and kind of seeing the space start to take shape again has been very exciting for us. And we can already tell, for instance, that it's so much more comfortable down here. Like before, this basement stayed really, really cold. And it was nice in the summertime, to come down here and it was a nice little cold space. But we suspect that in the wintertime, we might have been losing a lot of heat through this space. Now we come down here, when we have the heater on, it feels the same down here as it does upstairs, possibly even more warm and insulated. So putting all the insulation in, I kind of debated on whether or not that was really necessary. And after doing more research, I was like, yeah, I think we definitely need to do it. And I can definitely tell a difference down here since we did that. And the same for the ceiling. We're gonna be re-insulating the ceiling in here, mostly just because of sound. We wanna kind of do a little bit of a sound barrier between the upstairs and the downstairs, but I think it'll also kind of help make the space even more efficient. So over here, you'll notice that we have 2 electrical outlets. This was a mistake on my part. So when we first started designing this space and figuring out where we wanted all the electrical outlets, I was originally thinking that I was gonna have the built-ins kind of centered on this entire wall. Our progress down here was moving faster than my design progress. So anyway, we had put an outlet here in the center that was supposed to be for a TV, but when I decided to kind of justify everything on the sewing room kind of dimensions, I realized that I was actually going to shift that entertainment center over to the right more, and I actually needed the outlet here. So now we have 2 outlets in this wall. It's not a big deal, but the reason we didn't just move this over was because this was also the first outlet on this circuit, and so it was just going to be a huge pain in the butt to try to just shift this over a little bit. So we just added another outlet to the circuit. And I don't know yet if this one's even going to be showing, but if it is, I'll probably just paint the switch cover so that it kind of disappears a little bit. And then the TV, I think, is going to cover this mostly, but it might peek out just a little bit. So we're gonna have 2 outlets on this wall. And also, I didn't mention this, but in case anybody is wondering why these lights are hanging down like this, these will eventually be recessed in the ceiling, so they're gonna be flat like that. But once we get the ceiling in, those will be flush with the ceiling. So we're making good progress. This week we slowed down a little bit, but we're still moving. We're still trucking along and getting a lot of things down here. I think this weekend I'm going to start doing the mudding and the taping and doing all the drywall finishing. And I'm just gonna have to do that before I get this other corner done, and I'll come back in and do that later. I may also start putting drywall on the soffit. So it's coming along. Hopefully won't be too much longer before we get this finished. I'd really like for the drywall to be finished, like mudded, taped, sanded, painted before the Thanksgiving holiday. I'd like to start Thanksgiving knowing that this is mostly ready to start being designed, but I'm so happy to not be in the demolition phase on this space anymore. We're gonna have to do it again on the other side of the basement, but just knowing how much cleaner it is in here, it smells so much better, I cannot even tell you. And like yesterday I came down here and I was like, it actually smells good. Like not neutral, but good down here. So I think that's progress. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. If you haven't already and you've been enjoying these videos, please be sure to subscribe and hit the little bell icon so you'll be notified when I release new videos in the future. And with that, I will see you in the next video. Bye.